Hello, welcome back to First Canada's FTC Sim tutorials. This series about how to use FTC Sim, a first tech challenge robot simulator created by First Canada. So we have a whole bunch of these, and if this is the first one you're doing, maybe not the best place to start, but I guess you could really start anywhere. You might already have some background in programming. But you should be aware that this is a free account, so you can go to, where you see at the top here, pixelpad.io and sign up for free. You don't need an email address. I have mine in there as that. And if you're a teacher, you can sign up for teacher. That will let you create a class and assign students to it and then enroll them in some of these courses for free. So you can track that in case you need to do some coding. This is a great way to fulfill that requirement in your on your report cards for sure. In any case, there's a separate video on that in the list of them on YouTube under the First Robotics Canada. You can see that playlist about FTC Sim. So I'm going to get started. So once you log in, you go to FTC Sim on the left-hand side here. And the one we're going to do, we're going to actually go back to a very simple one. We did one of the first ones, I think. So we're going to go to FTC Movement, and we're going to choose the line one. So this is the basic program that we use when we're starting to teach. And essentially, all of them have a task, and most tasks are just to get to the flag. This is a quite simple one. There's the code that does it. I click on there and it does it, and it says I've completed that one, so I can go to the next one. You get your various blocks, as they're called, here on the left hand side. And today what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this code out and we're going to create what's known as a function. So when we go down here to miscellaneous and choose robot functions, we're going to choose this function that's going to, essentially it says to do something. And what we want to do is we're going to just move, and this is going to be our move test one. And the way this is going to work is typically you would use this on a much more complicated program, especially if you're going to use this function and then put it into multiple programs. If you had a robot, and this program is based on the First Tech Challenge robot kit that we have in First Canada and first throughout the world. And a lot of the code is going to be able to transfer. And this is a program that was created to assist teams, primarily in First Tech Challenge, teach their students about coding, code some of the basic autonomous functions that a robot would have to do, move, turn, using different sensors. Before that, the students actually got hold of the robot as it was being built, so they could prepare for when the robot got there. So a lot of times, you might need to have multiple autonomous modes, so to be able to do different things in autonomous, but some of those are the same. Some of those have to do with movement. And so we're going to create this little test one here to explain how to do this function that has what are known as parameters. So there's another one in the series that we've already done about turning left or turning right. And you can see that one, and it has a function in there, or two functions, turn left, turn right, I believe they're called. And but they don't have any parameters. So the point behind parameters is it allows us to make quick changes to test stuff. And then once we've got it, we could leave it in there, or we could just replace with the block. So essentially what we want to do is we want to duplicate this one, and we're going to essentially take all of this stuff and put it in here. And this one we're going to duplicate, and this one we're going to duplicate. And basically this last one, all it does is it stops the robot because it gives it a power value of 0. So we're making the robot go at its top speed of 1 for the left motor, 1 for the right motor, for a total of 1500 milliseconds. As we've already seen when we ran that, it's going to get us to that point there. But I'm going to just disable these. I don't want to actually get rid of them just yet because I want to make sure I don't make a mistake here. So they're disabled. Now, one of the things I'd like to do with this gear is that I'd like the person that's using this to test stuff. And again, this is aimed at when we're doing a much more complicated program. But this is the basics of it. I'd like them to be able to choose what values are going to go in here, here, and the amount of time. Okay, the zeros are for stopping, so they'll be 0 regardless. So up here at this gear, I'm going to say, okay, well, I want to have an input. Right now it says X, but I'm going to want to change that eventually. And, well, I'll change it right now. So I want that for the left motor. And then I'm going to put another one in for the right motor. Now, normally I would actually make these a little bit longer, probably 2 words that are joined together, like a lot of the things like motor left, motor right. But it's kind of hard to see if I do that. So that's why I'm doing it like this. And then this one is going to be, the third one's going to be for the amount of time. Okay? So I have left, right, and time. And left is going to go in here. Right is going to go here. And time is going to go here. And you can see, I'll just move this around a little bit, that it's put them up here. And those are the inputs that are being assigned when we do move test. And what happens when we do that is it creates those variables. So I'm going to drag this variable in. And I'm going to say, okay, instead of it being 1, because I'm not sure what it's going to be, I'll use left, and then I'll use right for the right motor. Because I might actually want to change and put different values in there that are not exactly the same. That's why I'm doing it like this. In case you're wondering why I just use speed there for it. And there's time. Now you'll also see that it's got X. X came up because that was the first one that came up there. So it's letting me do that. But I'm not going to use X. And I could actually get rid of it if I wanted. So now let's see what will happen. It won't do anything because with this function, I have to do what's known as call this function. I have to put it somewhere in my program. And obviously, it's going to go right here where I disable this stuff. So where do I find it? Well, I find it in these robot functions. So this is what I want. So there's the name of my function. I call it move test. And it's allowing me to put in values. And all the values that I'm putting in are numbers. So it's just math. So I'm going to take this one. I'll drop it in there. I'll duplicate it, and I'll drop it in there, and I'll do it one more time, duplicate it, excuse me, and I'll drop it in there, and then I can pick values. So I'm going to say that's 1, that's 1. Obviously, I'm picking these values because I know that will get me to the flag, and I want to see if it's going to work. So this is my test data. So if you've never programmed before, it's very often a good idea to have test data that you know is going to work before you make changes to it. So there we go. And there it goes. Gets the exact right spot. So what's happening is that when it calls this function called move test, it's expecting to have 3 parameters. Now, one of the reasons why blocks is such a good learning environment, and that's what this is called, blocks coding, is that it wouldn't let me create this with only 2. Because I put 3 in here, left, right, and time, and insisted when I created it that I have these 3 slots to put in. So that's one of the ways it does this coding to make it a little bit easier for us to learn. So at this point, I can make changes. I can say, okay, what would happen if I make this 0.5? Let's see what would happen, and I can test it. So I'm going to reset it. I can go, oh, it's making it turn. Okay, what about if I put both of these as 0.5? And I test that, and it's going slower. So maybe I want it to go slower. And okay, well, what would this have to be? Now I could actually, do a calculation. I know that 1500, if this is 1, gets us there. So this probably should be 3000 now, if I'm doing the math. And there it goes. But I could actually, at this point, do some math. So I could say I'm going to do a little bit of a multiplication here. And there's for my multiplication, even though right now it's not multiplication. So I'm going to put in multiplication. And then I don't need that anymore. So I could say, okay, it's times 1500. So whatever it is I want to do. So I could say, I can do some calculations here, and I could could put a value in there, a variable, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So there's lots of options that you can do. I'm going to get rid of that one right now because I don't really need it. And I'll just put this back in, and I'll put it to 3,000, which I know works. And reset it and test it. So this is a great way to create something that you know is going to work. So for example, I might want to do one that turns. And if it's going to turn, maybe sometimes it's going to turn left or it's going to turn right, and then I can change these values. So if you remember when I had this as 0.5 and this was still as 1, it turned. It went up and turned over here to the left because the right wheel is going faster and the left one's going slower, so it's going to go that direction. And the same thing, if I reversed it, it could turn left up there. And then the time that it's taking gives us an idea of how far it's going to go before it completes its turn. So this is a great thing to use. It's a great thing to reuse in many programs because it allows you to test things out. So try it out. I've tried it with the simplest one we have, but it certainly could be done with a variety of them. And again, don't forget to save. Now, remember, you can, it doesn't look like it, but you can click on this and you can do the Control-C to copy it and then paste it in. So I'm just going to try that, Control-C to copy it. And I'm going to go to the next one. Let's see if I can paste that one in. Okay, so I don't know if I need it in this one, but let's paste it in. And there we go. So there, we've done it. We've used it. I don't need it in this one, so I'm going to get rid of it. But if I did, I could put it in that one. So that's a great thing to use, especially for these, because then it allows you to do all those kinds of things that we talked about before. And you can see right away it's put those variables right in there. And unfortunately, our function is gone because I deleted it, but I kept the variables. In any case, I hope you've enjoyed this one. This was using functions with parameters. And I hope you're enjoying the series. If you do have any questions, feel free to contact me at pkeenan@firstinspires.org. And we'll see you in the next video.